Well, good evening. Welcome everybody to our 700th Zoom meeting. I guess Riverview, is that you, Glenn or Jason?
Let me hear. Yeah, that's going to be Glenn. Allow him to talk. Mr. Watson, are you there?
Now I'm here.
Okay.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I understand that we have a new plan. I kind of reviewed it. Has everyone else had a chance to look at the new plan?
Yep.
Hi, MJ.
Hi, MJ.
Okay, MJ, did you have a chance to look at the new Riverview plan?
I did briefly.
Okay, yes.
The PDF.
Yes, exactly. Okay, I am thinking that it deserves a site visit to better understand exactly what's going on out there. It seems pretty clear. The plan is pretty clear. My thought is that it might be prudent to ask for the applicant to stake the area of the four corners of the parking area. As you recall that, I don't know if any of you do you have the plan up in front of you guys?
I'm pulling it up.
There's that sort of circular area right at the what's going to wind up being the hammerhead of the the turnaround area, which is the area that we noticed, Max, we noticed way back when. That was seemed to be a fairly recent dump site. So it might make sense to look and see whether there is a mitigation effort to
yeah.
That was obviously fairly recently dumped in, and in giving it to the applicant for, I mean, turnaround, the hammerhead doesn't really fully go into it, but maybe there's an exchange here for restorative measures elsewhere on the property to sort of make up for the infraction in the first place. So in any case, I think if you guys agree, we should just go take a look at it and bring it in at the next meeting.
I'm good with that.
Yes. Yes.
Glenn, you okay with that?
He's on mute.
Can we unmute Glenn, please?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, great. So Max, can you coordinate the field meeting?
Yeah, I can do that. I'll do that try to get maybe next week, get out there with you guys.
Yeah, that'll work for me.
Okay. I'll send an email out later this week.
Very good. All right. Thank you, Glenn.
Are we done?
I believe so, unless someone has a comment or questions.
Well, I just wanted to add, I would like to add two different things. One of which would be that I think it would be good to work with Max with regard to what restorative plantings and action we take in the rear of the property, the rear of the new parking area. And I think that what we should have put on the plan would be some sort of permanent barrier at the end of the parking area that would provide a physical barrier, a fence, or something like that along the back of the parking area. And I should have had that on the plan, but to be perfectly frank, we were rushing like the devil to get things in on time. But so that I'll mark that on a plan, so when you have the site visit, I can show you what I'm talking about.
Understood. Very good. Anybody else? All right. Let's go on to the next one. Thank you, Glenn.
Okay. What else do we have anything else on the agenda? I'm not aware of anything else for me.
I don't think so. We have Dana and Kevin Raymond down on Hudson River Lane.
No, that's not us.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.
Right.
Okay. Can we bring in Dana and Kevin?
Yep. They're Dana and Kevin, you can unmute yourselves.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I apologize. It's Dana, not Dana. My apologies.
That's fine, thank you.
Okay, has everyone had a chance to look at this one? Briefly, anyway?
Yes.
My understanding, it's two existing houses, two existing septics, two existing wells, all of which are being demolished, abandoned, and so on. And then the lots are being combined, single new house, new septic, new well. Is that a good summary of the project?
Can you hear me?
I hear you now.
Yes, we have our team that should be on here. We have our civil engineer who is going to head the discussion.
Who is your engineer?
His name is John Callan, and I don't know where he is.
He is in. We should give him permission.
I
Yes.
just gave him permission.
John Callan, also our architect, Jeff Jordan, and also our landscape architect, who's also been involved with the grading plan with Jessica Matheson. They should all be there waiting to join.
They're all on.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
I don't know if you guys can hear me or not, but I'm not on the screen. This is John Callan.
Hi, John. We see you.
Oh, okay. I don't see you guys. Well, I do see you. I don't see myself on the screen, which is kind of cool.
Okay, so I'm not sure if you heard my sort of summary, but I believe it's the group's understanding that the overall concept is two existing houses, two existing septics, two existing wells, all of which are being demolished and or abandoned, and the lots are being combined, new single family house, new septic, new well. Is that correct? I'm not sure who I'm directing that question to. Whoever would like to take it, please feel free.
That is, and
Wow, very bad feedback.
Kevin.
Okay, if you're not speaking, just make sure everybody's on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfectly. John, I'm sorry. I think you're muted.
How about that? Better?
Very good.
Okay, thanks. So as you alluded to, this project involves the removal of the existing two residences at 4 and 6 Hudson River Lane.
I am not muted. I don't understand what's going on. Get out completely.
So with those, we're going to remove the existing wells, septics, driveways. It's pretty much clearing the two lots of all their existing features related to the existing houses, and then replacing them with one house in the middle, a new advanced treatment sewer system, and a new well.
Okay, I was mostly curious about the new septic because obviously from our perspective, that's probably the biggest item of interest. You know, those septics down there typically are not perfect to say.
Sure. Yeah. Well, my background in that field is that we do a lot of advanced treatment systems. Back in the mid 90s, I was hired, or should I say early 2000s, I was hired by Putnam County Health Department and the DEP to design advanced sewer treatment systems for their watershed projects. So I have a lot of experience in what works in Putnam County soils. Having said that, we went out with the health department, did some exploratory testing, a couple of different spots on Dan and Kevin's property, and found the best area. It was adjacent to their existing driveway, believe it or not. And we proposed a peat system. If you're familiar with those, it's essentially it's a treatment unit that's got peat media in it, and we feed the effluent to those peat units infrequently based on the volume that they use during the day. We give it to them over a 24-hour clock. So essentially, we're getting time dosing over a 24-hour clock, so we can really treat the effluent before we discharge it into the surrounding soils. So that system was the one we proposed, and as of this afternoon, I got the approval from the health department to install that system. So that'll be circulated back to the building department as part of our package, I guess, when we go to resubmit for the building permit. But that system, they're very durable, very tolerant of different types of uses. As long as we can time dose it, which this does have, we can control the flow in any size, shape, or form we need to, without having to worry about any discharges or any untreated effluent leaching out. It's light years ahead of what was there, which I don't want to call a 55-gallon drum with gravel around it, but it was pretty close to that.
Okay,
So
can I ask a quick question? Just could you clarify that? What was the phrase you just used? How it will deal with the overflow? How it prevents the overflow? I'm sorry, I didn't write it down.
Oh, so within the pump chamber, there's a storage volume. Say we have a pump failure, an alarm's going to go off, and I have a 2-day storage volume within that tank, audio-visual alarm that's going to notify the owners that there's an issue, and so it will never discharge effluent out of the tanks. By the same token, the PEAT units are a single-pass media filter. So if we inject the effluent through the top of the filter box, by the time it gets to the bottom of the box, it's already tertiary treated effluent. And then from there, there's a gravel pad underneath it that's sized to accept the daily flow of effluent. So, if it's making it through that box, it's treated effluent.
Okay. Understood. And so this is a pump up system.
I don't want to call it a pump up system, but it uses a pump to time dose and flow manage. It's a little bit different than a pump up system. A pump up system would indicate that we were pumping up to a mound, right, and then just massively discharging the effluent. This does it in a very different manner in that we're discharging, I believe, for this unit, 36 gallons every other hour. Each unit can handle 12 gallons an hour, 12 and a half gallons an hour.
So there's a storage tank that is sized to handle the typical, say, daily output and more, so that it just doles it out a little at a time. Interesting.
Exactly.
And the bedroom count?
Bedroom count is 3.
3 bedroom.
Yeah.
Does the discharge go to surface water, or is this all?
No, it goes into a gravel basin at the base of the units. I'm just looking right now at the size of that. The base is it's a 10 by 20 gravel base, and that was done through percolation testing and tertiary effluent percolation rates.
10 by 20
10 by 12. How deep?
Yeah.
10 by 26 inches deep. So we're essentially discharging tertiary treated effluent back into the ground, which is probably one step up from stormwater. And there's empirical formulas that get us to the size of that fill pad underneath the units, or the gravel pad underneath the units.
And could you tell us more about the PEAT units?
Thank you.
Excuse me, what?
Could you tell us more about the PEAT units?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So the PEAT units are, each one of them is a box. They're about 2.5 by 4.5 by 6.5. They're full of a PEAT media, which in terms of sewage treatment, it's fixed film filtration. So biology lives on the surface of the millions of square feet of surface area that's inside of that box. When our effluent is dosed out through it, there's a halo doser in the top of the PEAT unit, much like you'd see a produce sprayer or sprayer to produce line in a grocery store. It sprays the effluent into the media every other hour. And fixed film filtration, we basically have the effluent traveling through a column of this media, and the biology consumes all of the organics and inorganics, everything that it can consume until it gets to the bottom of the unit. Once it reaches the bottom of the unit, the water, which is the only thing that's really left, trickles out, enters the gravel mask below, or the gravel filter bed below, and then discharges into the groundwater, or into the soil, and ultimately into the groundwater.
And what is the life cycle of each unit?
So for a typical residence, much as this one, you're looking at about 15 to 20 years as their track record for the PEAT media. And eventually the PEAT media that they use is from Ireland. It's got a very high lignin content. In other words, it will not break down readily. unlike the peat moss you put in a garden around here. This is like really rooty stuff. So in 15 or 20 years, it does finally decompose. A service provider such as someone that pumps the septic tank would come, they unscrew the lid, which is right at the surface, evacuate the contents with their pump truck, and the manufacturer sells a large media bag, 1 media bag per unit. They open up the bag, they put the new bag in, replace the halo sprayer on top, and then the septic's brand new again. It's a really efficient, again, way of dealing with effluent in a constricted area.
So how is it monitored in case there is some form of failure?
So there is, well, the obvious, we'll start at the beginning. If there is an effluent issue at the septic tank, there's an effluent filter in the tank. Tank would obviously back up, stop the flow. That would be the first line of defense. If it got into the pump chamber and something happened there, a pump failure, you'd have an alarm. The alarm would sound, then we'd have 2 days of storage. If we got out to the peat media, there's a sampling port that's on the end of the units, and we can monitor the degradation of that peat media through like a sampling contract. So one of the things that will be offered to Dana and Kevin from a service provider is that, you know, in probably about 5 to 10 years, they'll start an annual monitoring program. Just a guy comes out, samples the effluent, makes sure it's still meeting the qualities that it's designed for, and if not, we investigate the media to see if there's an issue with that, and then replace it as needed. Or if there's any ponding in the effluent, those are all indicative of a media breakdown. It's pretty easy. Like I said, the sampling is very straightforward. Everything is readily available at the surface. There's no looking for it. And obviously, and there would never be a breach, but if there were somehow a breach and you saw a surface discharge, then, you know, something's very wrong. With like the effluent line or something like that, or the force main. But barring that, it's a pretty manageable system that's easy to maintain.
What happens in extended power outages?
So in an extended power outage, if the house had a generator, this system would be hooked to the generator. The effluent pump, I think, is only 1/4 horsepower. But if the power went out and they didn't have a generator, they don't have any water supply either. So it's a balance. It holds itself out.
Good point. And what about a flood, the Hudson River?
Well, we are located above the floodplain. I think, let me just double check the elevation of that system. We're at the P units, I think, are at an elevation about 13, and the flood elevation is 7. So we're 5 feet higher than flood elevation. Another foot higher, and we're up to the house. I don't believe that we would have a problem, but if for some reason the thing did get inundated, it's sealed to a degree, in that, you know, you're not going to be worried about using your septic system if the water's up to the finished floor of the house. You're hopefully out of there. And then when the water recedes, it's back to operating normal. The tanks themselves are sealed, so you don't have to worry about any infiltration or exfiltration out of the tops of the tanks in the event of a flood. The buoyancy calcs were done on those. Those could be submerged by 20 feet, and they're still not going to float out of the ground. So the system is, you know, in this particular application, I think well suited for the area and the use.
I guess I would just suggest maybe a requirement for an annual submittal of the report that on the peat systems you said is very easy to.
The maintenance contract, sure, a report on that would be acceptable.
To be reported to the town, the report just to be turned into the town, the building department, or whoever is the appropriate authority.
Sure.
Anybody else have any thoughts? I think we should go look. All right, so I guess as with the previous applicant, Max, would you mind orchestrating a site visit and go from there? Max, you out there?
Yeah, sorry, I was just having trouble unmuting myself. Yeah, I think an annual report submittal will be good. I think looking into the system a little bit more is important. I like the questions Andy was asking. I mean, do you guys have any reservations about something like this? Because we've seen systems like they did at Guinan's, and that was something that has precedent and you guys were comfortable with in the past. I know that's a commercial facility. And then, now we have this other project, the Johnson project, that, it's not obviously not exactly alike, but these were contentious sticking points in the past for new developments. So I guess I defer to you all, but this seems to be an area where more information is always better for everyone's understanding moving forward. And again, I think we need to look at the site. I think that's a big part of this. Is we're learning about a fraction of the project right now, and none of us have visited the location, seeing these site plans, and having the site plans in front of us.
Yep. I mean, I think my own personal feeling on it is all those septics down there are just so iffy. A move to remove 2 iffy septics and put in something that seems to be excellent anyway at first glance and engineering wise is just a step in the right direction. I don't know. What does everybody else think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think really the only hard part with a system like this is just making sure it's maintained properly. But I think it's far better than everything else that's down there now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree. Subject to regular maintenance and operation. This is a terrific development and hopefully one that will be followed in other houses eventually.
Yes. All right. So Max, you'll take it from there.
Sure. I mean, we can. I think we definitely need to set a site visit up after we hear the remainder of the project description. But yeah, I can coordinate with Greg.
All right, Max, would you like to hear further description at this time, or do you want to do the site visit and then we discuss it on site?
We can. It's up to you guys, really. If you wanna go see the site first and then have that discussion, or you want to hear the rest of the project description, it's fine. I'm deferring to you on that.
I mean, I personally, I like to be there. I like to get my eyes on it and have the discussion on site. I don't know about how everybody else feels, but just much easier to understand it.
May I ask you, when you come to the site, would you like our civil engineer and our architect to be there so they could, cover all any, questions you have, cover all the bases?
I think what would be helpful is if you could stake the house, stake the septic, stake the well. And then I think the engineer would be probably the most important part for us. The architect is really strictly involved with the design of the house. So unless somebody disagrees, that's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. The other thing is, maybe I'm missing it on the plans, but I don't see any on the plans mitigation to protect the Hudson, whether it's silt fencing, hay bales, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh yeah, it's on the plan. I'm not sure what set you're looking at, but the set I have, C101, sheet C101. So it's very close to the limit of disturbance. The silt fence actually denotes the limit of disturbance almost all the way around on the Hudson side. We do have one soil stockpile with additional silt fencing in that rear yard, but the grading is very, very minor in the back and in the front, in fact. But yeah, there's silt fence everywhere around that site. Unfortunately, all the conflicting line types, sometimes those things get lost in the details, but
yeah,
it's delineated by an S-type line.
Yeah, it's really hard to see.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll show it to you when we see you at the field. And bigger picture stuff, just noting on protecting the Hudson. The site as it currently sits, both lots, any runoff is unchecked directly into the Hudson from the roof, from the driveway, from anything. The proposed design captures and treats all the runoff from the roof. Any runoff that's in front of the residence is captured through grass swales and level spreaders to kill the velocity of the water and increase any kind of recharging we can prior to it entering the Hudson's watershed. But yeah, in the backyard, there's an infiltrator set up for the stormwater events. So we did look into that.
Excellent. All right. I think unless anybody has any questions, let's just let Max organize the meeting for next week sometime, and we'll come and take a peek. We'll meet you there.
Yeah, hopefully we can coordinate with the other project and do it all on the same day.
Yeah.
So you guys can, Kelly or Dana, can you get me a list of all the parties involved so I can email the correct folks on your end that you'd like present as well?
Sure. Who's speaking right now?
This is the wetlands inspector, Max.
Oh, Max, hi. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I'd be happy to send that to you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, John. Thanks, Dana.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Jessica.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Conservation Board.
Good night.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Really interesting little system, the peat system. That's a first, no?
Yeah, it's fascinating.
All right, so I guess we are now up to, or I guess we need to approve the minutes, and my apologies, I have not had a chance to review. Can we defer that until the next meeting? Kelly, I'm sorry.
Sure, absolutely.
Stormwater, Max, is there anything for that we need to talk about?
No real new updates. Mike checked in with us, Carl and I, earlier this month, just kind of touching base on where things were in the general program, and we need to catch up on some trainings for the highway department and other municipal staff. And we're going to be purchasing more storm drain markers to fill out the remainder of storm drains on town roads. And I'm working with the town clerk to make sure we have consistent broadcasting of our stormwater materials on the municipal channel. So that's really the only stuff going on right now, stormwater wise. Nothing new on that front.
Okay.
With projects.
I guess as I spoke to Max earlier, the Lojano project at this point is, if I got it right, Max, Jason is in discussions with them as to what the next steps are and coming up with a plan for us.
Yeah, Jason reached out to the town, just making sure that he had enough money in his escrow account so that we can continue working with him. And the supervisor's office is responding to that request formally in a letter. So I believe they're waiting on that letter from the town, and Jose is waiting on the proposal from Glenn to fill the services he's requested. So I'm guessing next month they'll be on the agenda, but as of now, that's where things stand.
Okay. All right. Well, unless somebody has questions or comments, I think we are done for this evening. No questions or comments? Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have it. All right, everyone.
All right.
Stay safe. Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too.
Good night.
Good night.